Don't worry, guys. It'll be less crowded in here after next week, after we kick all the seniors out. We'll be more comfortable. All right. Guys, glad you guys are here with us. Tonight, we're doing something a little bit different at the Mission. In honor of some of our seniors who are graduating, there's a lot that I would love to say about the youth ministry, and I talk pretty regularly about how God used it in my life. However, I invited a few of our seniors to share their experience. And so you're going to hear them choose to be open and honest and vulnerable about their time in the high school ministry and what God's done. And I asked them specifically to share because it's one thing to hear from me, and it's another thing to hear from students sitting around you, students who are showing up just like you are, and to be encouraged at some of the ways that God's working in them and wants to work in you. I asked a few seniors to speak tonight, and there's, just to be clear, there's a lot of other seniors that could also speak and share. You just can't have everybody. So that being said, I want to ask you guys to be extra respectful. It's a tough thing to stand up in front of a room of people this size and then just decide to, share your life and information, and it's a daunting thing. And so I'm going to ask you guys to make it easy for them by just being respectful, by not talking, being distracting, but just give them your attention and respect, because it's a big deal that they're willing to come up here and share. And so first, I'd like to invite up Molly Hollinger. She's coming. All right. I'm just kidding.
Alrighty. Hello. Okay, how do I want to start? Well, my name is Molly, if Hollinger is my last name, if you're wondering. And I've been going to this church for all my life. My mom started coming here when she was 11 years old. So pretty long time, yeah. So I was born into a Christian family, right? My parents actually met in the high school ministry. That's crazy. But so I was born into a Christian family, but I don't consider myself being truly born again until I was probably about 12 years old. It was 7th grade summer camp, and I had a really powerful experience with God. And it was really cool because it gave me 2 pieces of information. The first one was that there is a God, and I knew that because I had experienced his power. And the second one was that he had a powerful hand in my life. So, very important pieces of information that I learned very young. And despite knowing that information, I still struggled with the things that young teenagers will struggle with, anxiety, depression, well, not really depression, anxiety, loneliness, feeling super self-conscious. So despite knowing all that stuff, I still struggle with it. So fast forward to freshman year, right, when all that stuff is working at full force. I'm going to say something maybe a little controversial, but I think that you are never more self-conscious than when you're in 9th and 10th grade. I'm sorry, I think that that's the truth. See? Maybe some people will disagree with that, but in my experience, that tends to be the just universally true statement. The funniest part about that is when you're in 9th and 10th grade, you do not realize how cripplingly self-conscious you are. And you just think like, oh, this is just normal. Like, everyone's feeling like this. And that's actually not true. Maybe everyone around you, all your peers are, but that's not how life needs to be. So I'm going to tell you a few ways that I learned to kind of get over these feelings that I learned at the mission and that I learned through my small group, okay? So, where am I? Before we can begin to tackle this issue, let's get down to our root problem here, okay? Which is, drum roll please, drum roll, okay? Extreme self-absorption, okay? That's our problem here, okay? It's not pretty, but we're human. We just think we're so great to think about all the time, right? Maybe it's not in a good way, but we just think about ourselves all the time. So now that we have a diagnosis, however uncomfortable it may be, I'm going to give a little footnote here. There may be other factors at play, like for these feelings. Obviously, it's a mixed bag, but this tends to be the main problem that we face. So we can begin, once we have this diagnosis, we can now prescribe some ways to deal with it, okay? I'm going to tell you about two things. And the first one is serving in a ministry. This is going to help you to get over yourself, okay? Romans 12:3 says, For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourselves more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the measure of faith given you. So, involving yourself in a ministry that maybe you're not good at, or maybe you've just never done before, has a way of really giving you an accurate view of yourself and what you actually bring to the table. Because as humans, and specifically as teenagers, we tend to think that we're all that, that we're just, people are really lucky to have us around, and maybe we're not as appreciated as we should be. And, as humans, and especially as teenagers, that tends to be pretty inaccurate. So, this may seem a bit counterintuitive. If I want to stop feeling bad about myself all the time, I need to think less of myself. And if you're asking yourself that question, you're absolutely right. So, I'm going to give you guys a little pro tip. I'm doing this a lot. I'm going to give you guys a little pro tip. I speak with my hands, if you can't tell. Instead of coming to the mission and thinking, serve me, I'm here to have fun. And if I don't have fun, then I'm not coming back. And I'm talking bad about you behind your back, okay? Don't have that attitude, okay? Because you're not going to get anything out of the mission if you have that attitude. You need to be thinking, when you walk through those doors, how can I serve others? How can I grow closer to my Creator? How can I be the hands and feet of Jesus? You will be so amazed by the difference this makes in your life, in your attitude, in just your experiences in church events. It will make a huge difference, and you will have more fun, okay? You're going to have to trust me on that one. You will have more fun. So, some ideas for you guys to start in ministries. Easy one. Come here early, help set up chairs, okay? There's a lot more of you now, so there's more chairs to set up. Come early and help, okay? Stay in this room late. If there's papers to be passed out, help pick up the papers and pens. It's really easy, but you're just giving up some of your time to help serve the church. Another one, girls, volunteer in the nursery. Volunteer with little kids, okay? You think you're self-absorbed? These little kids don't care about you, okay? Kids' church, great one for every one of you. You should all become involved in kids' ministries, okay? Volunteer to be an usher. It's a great one. Become a small group leader at your small group. I'm going to talk about small groups a little later. If you can sing, start leading worship. If you can play the guitar, start leading worship. It doesn't matter how good you are, okay? If you give God something to work with, he'll work with you. He'll actually do something. Another really big one, I think this is for 10th grade and up, but I was told I was wrong recently about that. Start helping in a junior high group, okay? Also, if you feel self-conscious, go help with junior hires. You'll be like, wow, I'm so cool. Like, I didn't realize how great I was. So I strongly encourage you all to become involved in ministries, okay? There are so many at this church for you to try, and if you don't go to this church, get involved in your church, okay? That's like a necessity if you're going to be a Christian and grow with God. You need to serve. Okay. If you do that, you'll be very surprised by how it changes your perspective and your attitude. You will appreciate your leaders more, let me tell you. Okay, my second thing is get a more accurate view of God. Okay, 1 Chronicles 29:11. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. For all that is in the heavens and in the earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Lord, and you are exalted as head above all. Hebrews 10:31 sounds an interesting one. It is a terrifying thing to fall into the hands of the living God. Terrifying. That's an interesting word. To fall into the hands of the living God, to fall into the hands of God, means to fall under his judgment. Okay? We serve a mighty and fearful God. And the Bible does not mince its words when describing him. He is described, actually, I have a list of some of the. He's described as dreadful, fearful, and terrifying. Those are not often words we're using for God, right? But that's how the Bible describes him. He is enthroned above the heavens in terrifying holiness, and yet he still notices you, and you, and you, individually, personally. Not only that, he loves you with an everlasting love. That should be enough to instill some humility in the hearts of us haughty teenagers, but for some reason it's hard to translate that into regular everyday life, right? Especially if you don't have a personal relationship with God. So something that helped me get this into my thick skull was being surrounded by leaders at the mission who helped me to make my walk with God personal. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little personal story. When I first came into high school, I was very shy and very quiet and would have died if you asked me to come up here and speak. Okay, I would have died. And so I really only started getting out of my shell when I was late 10th grade. So being a shy and quiet person who preferred being home, I did not like the mission at all. I did not like coming here. So I was shy, but also it was my own pride. Like, well, you know what? If I don't feel comfortable right away, why would I bother going? I'm wasting my time. So it was my own pride. But I also felt overwhelmed by all the kids who were older than me. I was like this tall and very quiet. So I could have easily chosen to give up on the high school ministry once I came here. Like, okay, like this is not for me. I'm going to stay home. But I didn't. Thank God I chose to go to my small group, which was possibly the best decision I ever made. Okay, I remember when I was in like 9th and 10th grade, the seniors were like, go to a small group. I swear you will not forget it. And I was like, okay, like calm down. But now I'm up here and I'm telling you, go to a small group. You will not regret it, okay? There's almost nothing better you can do for your walk with the Lord, okay? Get involved because you'll make a relationship with your leaders and with peers that will encourage you and help you on towards God. Because I continued to serve and be involved in my small group, eventually I did start forcing myself to come to the mission, and now I love it. Because I did all those things, they blessed me more than I could have ever imagined they would, and more than I can put into words, honestly. My understanding of God and my relationship with him would not be the same if it wasn't for all the leaders here and for all of the girls in my small group and all the leaders that aren't here in my small group, and all the encouragement that I received. So, in closing, serve others and serve God. Also, find a small group.
Thanks, Molly. Appreciate it. Next, can I have Juliana Van Omering come up here? Javo.
I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting this many people tonight, so it's fun. Love it. My name is Juliana Van Omering. I'm a senior here, as John said earlier. Kind of surreal, my second to last night at the mission. Sorry. Just going to leave that there. But yeah, John just asked us to share about the mission and small group and how it's affected our lives and how God has used us to grow it. So I have a bit of a different situation. I'm sure some of you are in the situation too of being a club athlete. So a lot of times I will be at practices rather than coming to the mission because as a club athlete you have to train, you have to work hard to be able to play and to work on tournaments and all those things. And so I wasn't able to come as often as I wanted to, which is also something I struggled with the Lord. Do I pursue church in that or also pursue my volleyball team and be a light on that team for the Lord? But I really did enjoy the mission when I attended. It was super fun. I loved the people. I loved the worship and the message and seeing all the leaders who are consistently there and always there for you. But something that was challenging within that was because I came so sporadically that I would meet someone new, but it'd be hard to connect with them because I wouldn't come for another couple weeks. So that was a challenge, and I just want to encourage you, if this is your situation, to be intentional when you come. Be intentional about meeting new people and catching up with them. Be intentional about worshiping the Lord and listening to the message. Volleyball did end a couple weeks ago, so I've been able to come a lot more often and be more plugged in, and I really enjoy that. I love seeing all these people every week and being involved and worshiping the Lord. Tonight was just super special. I don't know if any of you else felt the presence of God really heavily, and I know it's so crowded in here and really hot. If you can't tell, I'm probably a little red because it's extremely hot in here. But yeah, it was just super cool, and I love that. But small groups. So small groups, if you don't know, it's your gender, your age, your grade. And it's a super cool opportunity. I've been with my small group since we were in junior high. So, not all of us have stuck together, but a good chunk of us have, and as well as the leaders have been consistent with us too. And so it's been a really awesome opportunity for me to grow and connect with girls who are going through the same things as me, who are going through the same seasons, the different changes in life that they are facing. We get to walk through that together, and having that opportunity has been able to show me that I never walk through anything alone, and the Lord is with us, and he's brought people around us who walk through us together. So I really encourage you to get involved in that and be willing to be vulnerable. The leaders aren't there to judge you. They're there to love you and to encourage you. So be vulnerable with them. Trust the girls in your group. Connect with them and really just pursue God with each other. Sorry, I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm sure I'm talking really fast. But this is just a really cool opportunity, and I'm so grateful to be up here. But something I wanted to end on and encourage you in is I wouldn't be able to be up here on my own strength. Nothing I've done I can do in my own strength. Nothing that the Lord has walked me through I can do on my own. It's all because of the Lord. And through the Lord walking me through things, I've been able to learn and grow. And with the mission and small group, He's taught me what it means to lead, and not to just lead in my own strength, but in His strength, in serving others and loving others. And throughout my life, I've heard the term of depend on the Lord's strength, lean on the Lord and His goodness. And I've heard that and be like, okay, cool. How do I do that? How do I tangibly live out the way to depend on the Lord's strength and not my own? And just through this last end of my senior year, the Lord has really shown me how to do that. And I think I've heard it my whole life, but He really just walked with me through that and gave me the encouragement and the drive to want to do that. And so something I've really learned through that is it's not just a one-time thing. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to lean on the Lord's strength and be done. It's a daily wake up. Lord, I'm going to surrender to You. I'm going to lean on Your strength. I invite You into my life. Help me and guide me through this process. Some ways I've learned to do this is through worshiping the Lord, through specifically worshiping through praising, and not like how I feel or what I desire, but who the Lord is, like praising Him because He is good, because He is God, because He is faithful, because He is trustworthy. Another thing I've learned is through prayer and truly pouring your heart out to God, because the Lord, He already knows, but there's something about pouring it out to Him that just changes things, because when we pour out our feelings, what we're going through, what's on our heart, it invites Him to move in that. It allows Him, not that He won't do it without us praying, but it's just that vulnerability that we get to have with the Lord, which is so beautiful. And lastly, through His Word, studying, reading, and knowing God's Word. I know if you come to the church or to the mission or a small group or have been in part of any sort of church, you've heard these things a lot. You've heard, read your Bible, pray, worship the Lord. And I know that can get redundant, but it's crucial to our faith. It's crucial to wanting to know God, because God's Word is how we know Him. We pray, that's how we communicate with Him. We worship Him, that's another form of communication and prayer. And the Lord, He wants to know you. He wants to love you. He wants to have a relationship with you. He does already love you, but He wants you to know how loved you are by Him. So I just want to encourage you that if you feel like you're going through life on your own strength, and if you're feeling the negative effects of that, to just stop tonight, surrender to the Lord and say, I am Yours, Lord. Strengthen me, guide me through this process so that I can learn to lean on Your strength. You can do this at the mission every week. You can come and just pour your heart out to God during worship. And I've also been able to do that in small group and talk about how I'm feeling with the girls around me and the leaders who are so quick to encourage me and to love me. So I encourage you to get involved in a small group and to know that this process is not a one and done, that it's a lifelong process, and that you can grow in that process, you can be sanctified through the mission. Like, that can be a way of your sanctification process, through small groups, through leaders encouraging you, through being vulnerable with these leaders. So I just want to leave you with 2 verses. 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10 says, And He said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in my infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, in persecutions, in distresses. You know what the word is. For Christ's sake, for when I am weak, then I am strong. And then John 15:5 says, Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me, and I in him, bears much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. God desires a relationship with you. He desires for you to know how loved you are by Him, and He desires for you to be in community. And I've been able to do that through the mission and through small groups. So I hope this encourages you guys, and I just hope that you learn to lean on the Lord's strength.
Thanks, Jules. One cool thing about high school ministry is, as I get to know students like Molly, like Juliana, knowing everyone's life and story is different. And so Juliana, she mentioned being really involved in sports, as some of you are. And I would, of course, like lovingly and jokingly give her a hard time whenever she missed something or wasn't around. But also, I can say to her credit, she worked really hard to be present and involved and to be committed despite a lot of really heavy commitments in her life. She downplayed it, but she's like a big deal. And there are lots of other things fighting for her time and attention, but she worked really hard to make God a priority in the midst of that, in her own personal life and in her involvement in small group and at the mission too. That is cool, like such an encouraging thing. And with each of the kind of stories that you guys are hearing, wherever you're at, there's parts of that can be relevant to you, parts of that God might want to use to speak to you. And with that, I want to invite up our last speaker, Sadie.
Hello, everyone. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I don't have paper, so I'm like looking on a phone. Okay, so my name is Sadie, and I'm actually Molly's cousin, so the other person came up here. Okay, so I've been attending Foothills my entire life. We're related, so my family also like met here, and I just grew up here. It's been really fun. I've gone to the mission all 4 years. I have a big family. I'm like one of 6, and I'm the oldest, so we're like a young, big family. It's been a lot of fun. When I first attended the mission, I'm pretty sure it was also, I think I came here like during the freshman dinner thing. Like when I was a freshman, we came here, and I just remember like feeling super like, I did not know anybody except for, like, the friends that I came with. And I remember feeling really small. I was, like, really self-conscious. There was a ton of people. I was scared of John. And I was, like, just super self-conscious. And so I was just not totally in love with the mission, you know? So I did not come consistently, like, my freshman year. I'd go on and off, kind of same as Molly. We'd, like, come together sometimes. She almost never came with me, actually. She's, like, an introvert. She left me alone. Happened in junior high, too. It was really annoying. I would just go places, and she'd be like, no, sorry, I'm not coming, and I'd have to go. It was, like, really scary. It grew me. So during this time, I would say, like, there were a few tough things going on. I did not have a good relationship with my mom at all. Like, it was, like, really bad. We'd get in fights all the time. It was, like, every day. I actually did not like being at my house. Like, that's how it was with my mom. So, we'd avoid each other. I don't think she liked being around me either. I had a few friend situations that weren't great, like, I don't know, there's just, like, tension. So I just knew, like, I needed help at one point. I was like, okay, this isn't going good. So what I did was I got a mentor, and her name is Peanut. She's in the back, actually. She's really great. So I got a mentor. And she actually would pick me up from my house, take me to lunch, we'd talk, and then she'd take me to the mission. So I would come to the mission like all the time, partly because of her. And so that was like one of the things that really like started changing my life, honestly, was like, okay, I got her, and I was at the mission all the time, and really things at my home started to change. Like me and my mom are like really good friends today. And I would say it's mostly because of her and because of how much influence I had like with the church. So I would say like the reason I'm even up here today is because of all these like little decisions that I made that like pushed me in the right direction. One of the things that I did was I joined the welcome team for a really selfish, dumb reason. I liked this boy, and he liked me, and so I was like, oh, sure, I'll join, you know. And he was like, yeah, and he was like on the welcome team too. And it lasted like 1 week, and it was like, okay, now I'm just gonna like quit the welcome team. But I actually found out that I liked it. Like I was going out to people, you get this like little name tag, and you feel like super official. I would go up to anybody I wanted. Like I was just like, oh, hi, you know, my name is Sadie, what's your name? I'm on the welcome team, like, you know. And it was so much fun. And I would say, like, I made so many friends. I had so much fun. I started talking to John. I started making tons of friends. It was so much fun. Like, I knew everybody. I could confidently say, like, the funnest time I had at the mission was when I was on the welcome team. it was a really great time. And it helped me get super involved, like with the church. It kept me accountable to come here. And it was just a really great way to, like, make good friends, and stay connected with good people. I also joined a junior high small group, which really, really grew me. I think, like, I don't know, like, they kept me accountable in some ways, because I was like, okay, there's, like, these little kids are, like, looking up to me, so I can't do anything too dumb, So that really, I think, matured me in a lot of ways. They're actually here today. They're high school now. It's really weird. They're all sitting over there. But I'm going to say this. Like, I had friends in 8th grade, 9th grade that, like, did the opposite of me, They made, like, little decisions that, like, really led them in, like, the wrong direction. They were, like, doing the opposite thing as me. Like, I remember I'll, like, look back at them sometimes, like, pictures. I was looking at pictures recently. I was like, they're not here anymore, And, like, they just did, like, these little things. Like, they decided, I'd rather, like, not go to small group anymore because I'm feeling a little bit convicted about this one thing that I'm doing, so I don't want to go there anymore. And they'd be like, I don't want to go to church because I don't feel like it, And then, I don't want to go to the mission anymore because of sports or whatever. And so it was just like, they would just stop coming. And then they didn't have any of, like, this influence of, like, Christians, and it was, like, really bad for them. And today, like, some of them it's just really sad. It's not even like they're not Christians anymore. It's like they're actually in a terrible place, and it's really sad. I would say, like, my 8th grade group was super big, and then once we got into high school, it was, like, super tiny for a long time. It was, like, 4 of us girls, and that's just because, like, all of them just fell away and stopped going to things. So, like, you really need to be intentional with your decisions and, like, what you decide to do and where you decide to put your time, because that's ultimately what's going to, like, affect where you are later, I would say a lot of high schoolers have this mindset of, like, there's these 4 years where I can do whatever I want, and it doesn't matter what I do, there's no consequences. But, like, that's just not true. Like, this 4 years is what is going to be shaping your adulthood, And if you don't spend it wisely, like, you're gonna be in a really dark place. So your little decisions matter. So one of the things my leader used to say, I don't know how I'm going to do this with a microphone in my hand, but she would, I think Sabrina told me this, one of my leaders. She would say, okay, you're going, like, on this path, and, like, you and the Lord, or the Lord and you, and, like, you're going, like, on this straight path, and you make, like, one little decision, and, like, it doesn't seem like you're going too far away from the Lord, but, like, eventually, like, you're way far off, And so that, like, visual helped me, like, like, even the little decisions, like, you don't realize it, but they really affect you. My phone just turned off. Okay, so one of the biggest things that I did was I joined the welcome team. Like, I had no idea how big of a decision that was for me, That was, like, a little selfish thing that I did to, like, get with a guy, And it ended up being, like, a really big thing for me. And I didn't know that was going to be a big deal. The mission is a really good environment. Like I said, like, it was a big deal because it helped me grow in, like, talking to people. And that was something that, like, I'm actually good at, and I didn't realize it, And, like, keeping up a conversation, making people feel welcome, And I would say, like, the mission is a really good place where you can, like, grow your strengths and use them for the Lord, Like, you can go and maybe, like, you're good at worshiping, or good at singing, and you can join the worship team. Or maybe, like, you like to welcome people. You can join the welcome team. I almost called it the worship team. There's, like, a lot of things you can do to, that'll help you grow. Okay. My notes are all over the place. I should have printed it out. Oh, yeah. So, like, one thing also that I did, Molly made me do worship with her in junior high, and I, like, wanted to die. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. But it ended up being super good for me now. Like, now I know how to play guitar, and, like, I can lead worship if I wanted to, like, for a group. I lead worship for my junior high girls. It's something that I didn't even know that I could do, until, like, I was pushed to do it. And so you got to get involved. I'd say the best way to spend your time at the mission is, like, get involved in something here. Like, that's when it's going to be the most fun. Like I said, like, the most fun was when I was on the welcome team. Like, there's so many things you can do, like Molly was saying. Like, you come here 15 minutes early and help set up chairs. or you can join the worship team. There's so many things, and it's really fun. So you should do that, and it would help you, like, it keeps you accountable into like the right place and the right path where you need to go. I want to say to you freshmen, I'm going to be done soon. Like, you have these 4 years, and like these 4 years go super fast. I can't believe I've been here for 4 years. And so just don't waste it. You have these 4 years, that you can do whatever you want, and you can either spend it on having a ton of fun with all your friends, because you can. There's a ton of fun that you can have in high school. Or you can also have fun, but also make sure that you are like putting in time with the Lord, like growing your personal life with him, and like get involved in ministry. Like, I'd really encourage you guys to do that. It's like a good thing to do. That's like not a waste of your time, and it's growing yourself. And I would say it's like you seniors who are coming up, whether you like it or not, you're being looked up to. Like, you don't even realize it. Like, people who are younger than you are looking at you and saying like, oh, like, I want to be like them. Like, you don't even think it's happening, but it is. And you can change the vibe of the mission a little bit while you're here. Like, you can either make it suck, and like be super cliquey with your friends, or you can go out and, like talk to the freshmen, talk to the younger people, and be inviting to them. Like, it doesn't mean a lot to you, but it means a lot to them later. Like, I still remember the seniors that like talked to me, and I was like, oh, like I remember their names and stuff, and I'll go up to them and be like, who are you? It's like, oh, never mind, you don't remember me. But they were like influential to me, and I was not influential to them. But anyway, that's what I would say as my last point. Thank you for letting me talk to you guys.
Thank you, Sadie. Appreciate it. And I really appreciate what Sadie mentioned, which is true for all three of them, but she articulated well. What you do and what your relationship with God looks like, it's often not these super dramatic decisions that you guys are making. It's all in the small steps. It's all in the small choices that you guys make. And we're at this season of transition, which we're going to talk more about next week. But in this time, you guys can decide, what kind of steps do I want to take? Like a simple step, like, am I going to come back next week? It's a small step. And one of the things, too, I appreciated about their stories, which is their own. I didn't tell them, like, hey, here's what I want you to focus on and make these points for me. That's just their life. But one of the things that they all mentioned is that growth came when they made choices that sometimes were uncomfortable or sometimes like tough to make, but they made them in obedience to God. And looking back, they're super grateful that they did. And they have this testimony of all the ways that the Lord used it. And so I want to encourage you guys tonight, like, as you take those steps, you're going to get to a place where you look back and you're grateful to God that you took those tough steps, that you chose to be obedient in whatever area. And so as we go into worship, one of the things we do here at the Mission every week is when you guys come, we want you to have the opportunity to get prayer. It's a very normal thing we do here. Myself and all of the adult leaders are always really excited to pray for you guys. We look forward to it all week. We're excited when you guys come up to us and want prayer for whatever it is. Could be something really simple. Could be something that you feel like is really heavy and tough to share. And our response is going to be, yeah, of course I'm going to pray for you. And to invite God to speak to you, to bless you, to come in and help in whatever the situation might be, whatever you need prayer for. And it might be related to one of the things that they shared tonight. Or maybe it's something totally different that you have going on that you want God to be involved in. I want to do this as we begin worship. This might be a little bit tough depending on your row and where you're at. I'm going to ask you guys to actually stay in your seats for worship. If you need to like fill out in the aisle on the sides, you can, but I'm going to invite you to pretty much stay in your rows. And if you need prayer, I'm going to invite you guys to come forward. Everybody else is focused on worship. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody cares. Ministry time is a really regular thing that we do here every week. And again, we're excited to pray for you. So if you need prayer for anything, I want to invite you guys to come up here on the sides. And we'll have adult leaders ready to pray for you. I'm going to invite up our 3 seniors who spoke to also come up and be willing to pray for people. But the rest of us, we're just going to thank God for being who he is. We're going to thank him because he's good. You know, whenever I hear someone's testimony, I think like, man, God invested a lot of time and energy into that person. And that's true for every single one of us. God's pursuing us and speaking to us and growing us and has more for us. And so we're going to worship and thank God for that. And if you want prayer for anything at all, you guys can just come up and we'll be ready to pray for you. Let's worship.